I have a more specific question. Recently, I have a friend, older friend, and makes me very sad. I went to visit her. She appears to have forgotten her son, who has taken very good care of her for many years. But she remembers everyone else and appears to know me and to know all the others around her, and remembers her life and people that seem to visit her as well. And I feel very sorry for her son. Okay. And why she is doing that is a question I have.
What is your first name?
Her name is Iris.
Perhaps this is not the only story that we have heard like this. We could say that ultimately it is a story of love. But you would disagree with us because you don't understand where love is in that. And we will tell you it's everywhere in there. The mother is connected to her son through something that is more than physical. It is a connection that will always exist, but it comes from the perspective of the soul. Oftentimes, there will be what we call agreements between a soul and another soul. These agreements are created in order to assist one or both souls expand and grow, to understand love that is unconditional, to understand that the connection is still there. You see, oftentimes the connection in your societies are made because of the titles you hold for each other or with each other, when in reality, these titles are just roles you are all playing. In reality, the connections, well, such as we said before, are made through the heart. But many times, disagreements that these people have made with each other prior to coming into the earth or when they are already in the planet are made from the perspective of love. So he has to learn unconditional love through the eyes of his mother, but it's ultimately learning unconditional love for himself. The mother in this situation is playing her part. So she's keeping her end of the bargain. He, on the other hand, has to grow in this perspective and expand and learn to love no matter what she presents in front of him, or no matter what he might be thinking, for they are just ideas. They are not necessarily the truth of what is going on. He understands the connection he has to her. But if he continues to go into his mind, this can affect him. And then we could say unbalance his energies. So it is, in a way of teaching him not just to love unconditionally, but also to stay in his center and to keep to his center and to know and understand that love can never disappear. It can never be destroyed. Do you understand this?
I felt, can I speak? Is it okay? I had a thought afterwards, having met her, that perhaps on some other level, this is just my idea, that she wanted to release him so he could then live on, be his own being, be his own soul. and that the only other way she could do that would be to not acknowledge his existence. It's a situation he's in, is she not only doesn't know him, but she recognizes him as somebody else, as a friend of her son, and she tells me that he shouldn't be in her home, and she doesn't know him, he's a stranger. And I guess from my perspective, I'm thinking the only way he would be free would be for her to say that. And on some level, I had a feeling, and she had a prearrangement, maybe like you said, this could be the reason. Just an idea, wanting to understand that.
Well, ultimately, he will come to understand that we call unconditional love for himself. That is what will give him the strength to do what he needs to do. Understanding that the unconditional love he has for her will also reflect in him, in himself. He's learning that for himself through her. Okay. So whether you see it as this being played out in this way, it does not matter what the play looks like as long as the lesson or that expansion is happening in him. She is keeping the end of her bargain. Now he has to step it up. How does an individual get to love themselves unconditionally? That is such a good question to ask, because there are so many of you who are often hurting yourselves every day. You do it without even realizing you're doing it. And some of you are quite aware of what you're doing. So how does an individual begin to love themselves in an unconditional way in such a busy world? We bring you back to that being centered and grounded in yourself and back to the heart. We will always say that, because that is where you begin. And then you begin to drop judgment for yourselves, for whatever it is that you have done, whatever it is that you are doing. You begin to drop judgment and begin to love, to live from your hearts, centered and guided through your own light. There are so many of you with difficult journeys, some of them quite painful. But there are great lessons there. There's great expansion. And it does not mean that you have to learn in this way. It doesn't mean that you have to expand through pain or through situations with others that cause you pain. It does not mean that. But you would have to be willing to look within yourselves in such a deep way, in such a manner, to look what it is that is hurting inside of you, what it is that you do certain things, why is it that it feels heavy on my shoulders or my chest or on my leg? What is it telling me? What am I saying to myself? You have to begin to do the work. But many of you give responsibility to that is, to that creator or life. Life just is. When in reality, you're the ones that are creating life. You're the ones that are creating it. When in reality, you are the ones that are calling to you this expansion or this growth or these opportunities, or are reflecting with one another in situations or encounters something. You are reflecting that hurts in you through others. And no matter where you go or what you do, you will continue to attract this until you are willing to then look deeper inside yourselves and have that conversation with yourself. But it has to be a conversation that is truthful to you, and not a conversation where you are deceiving yourselves to yourselves Do you understand that?